All righty. So we are now live. So thank you all for joining me this evening. I'm so excited to be able to share information with you all about how to get a business grant or loan. I think it'll be very informative for you. We will have this set up. If you have any questions as I'm going through my presentation, just feel free to unmute yourselves and ask the questions that you have. And I'm happy to answer those for you while I'm giving the presentation. So before I get into the actual presentation, I just want to take a quick moment to introduce myself for those who may end up watching this through YouTube or Facebook, and give them a little bit of information about the Winners Club. So my name is Kristina Wynne. I am owner of the Winners Club. We are a business development consulting company in Illinois. We are certified, woman minority owned certified business in Illinois as well. And so we offer three core services. We offer business coaching, we offer access to capital through grant writing and loan sourcing, and we offer business education. So this masterclass is part of our business education leg, and we also offer an online course. You'll learn a little bit more about the course in detail, but high level, the course is 8 weeks. It's geared towards business owners who are in the business idea phase or more in the early stage startup phases of their business. And the outcomes for the online course are a business plan and a pitch deck. And so if you are looking to get capital for your business, or if you want to just get started on the right foot with a true plan, it's a great course to be a part of. I created the curriculum, I teach the curriculum. So it's one thing to try to throw a business plan together yourself. It's another thing to have a business coach who can help you through the process and answer some of those questions. So that's a little bit more about a little bit about myself and about my company, the Winners Club. But now I want to go ahead and allow everyone who is on the call with me today to introduce themselves. So this is how we will do it. We will do give us your name, your business description, and a fun fact about yourself. And I will be the last person to go. I already kind of gave you all my name and my business description, but I'll give you guys my fun fact at the end. I'm still trying to think about it, honestly. So hopefully y'all can help me think of something and give in yours. So we will go to Jatan first.
Hi, my name is Jatan Rollins, and I'm the CEO of 1863 Forward. It is a new startup company that was just granted $444,000 of that Prisker cannabis money. So yay! And my tagline is Jumpstart Dreams and Make an Impact. Fun fact, I traveled to Australia and China, and I traveled to Australia in August of 2019 and China in October of 2019, looking at the Aboriginal population and community service provision of services in Shanghai, China.
That is really cool, John. Congratulations. Like, that's a really big deal. A lot of people are saying, like, Black people didn't get any of that money. So it's really good to actually see you and to hear from you that that was not the case. So congratulations. That's really awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
sharing
you.
that. Keisha, we can go ahead and go to you next.
Hi, I am actually not in the light right now. Keisha Morgan, representing Two Bulls Mechanical Services, which is an HVAC company. Um, Fun fact would be I have a 4-year-old son that is super smart and obsessed with superheroes, but has never actually watched a superhero movie.
That's pretty funny. Why hasn't he watched a superhero movie? I'm just curious to know.
I am very strict on what he watches. So he mostly is watching like National Geographic, Smithsonian,
Nice.
everything educational. Actually, well, to add on to that, I just put in an application for CPS to have him put into kindergarten a year early.
Wow, that's
So
awesome.
we'll see how that works.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. Thank you for sharing. Ashley.
Hi, I am Ashley Frazier Robinson. Business is Holistic Recovery LLC. It is a recovery home, substance recovery home for sobriety and alcohol use disorders. Fun fact about me is I love gardening. Plants are my babies. I also have children, but plants are my like happiness. So I grow my own food and I really enjoy it. Even the stuff I don't eat, I just grow it and like try to give it to everybody because I really, something about it is just, it's super therapeutic for me. It's just growing things.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so my fun fact. Oh, we have someone else that's popping in the room, so I'm gonna let her go because I still don't have mine for real. I was gonna actually just piggyback off of you, Jatan, with a travel story. So when I was my eighth grade summer, I was a student ambassador for the United States, and I went to Australia for it was almost a month. It was like 20 something days without my parents. So that's like pretty exciting, pretty life changing. So that's my fun fact. Kefra, thank you for joining us. If you don't mind unmuting yourself and allowing us to see your beautiful face, we're doing introductions right now. So if you would like to do your introduction, we are doing our name, business description, and a fun fact about yourself.
Hi, Kristina. Thank you for having me. I can't do my video because I'm like out right now, but I'll turn it on in a minute. I'm just trying to
Okay.
get back in the house. But my name is Kefra Harris. I am a personal chef in Atlanta and currently in Chicago doing business. So that's just a little bit about me right now. I am also a graduate of Purdue. I have a master's in communication. So I also do a lot of digital marketing things too. So I use digital marketing and cooking kind of to do my business. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Fun fact.
Oh, fun fact. Sheesh. I have a 10-year-old daughter. I don't know if that's fun, but I feel old when I say stuff like that.
I know the feeling. That is fun. Thank you for sharing. So now we will go ahead and get into the presentation today. And what we are going to talk about is getting business grants and loans. What does that look like? How does that work? You know what? If you don't mind your time, just because you have successfully gotten a grant, do you mind just talking through what that experience was like? What all did you have to put forth in order to successfully get a grant? Before I break down all of this information, I would, if you don't mind sharing, I would love to hear that.
Okay, sure. I had the advantage. I had never acquired a grant before. I had applied for one in 2019, didn't make it. Same concept, tried again in 2020. It took a lot of research. It took a lot of know-how in terms of honing it down to the specific content areas in terms of statistics, showing community by community, comparing lifespan of Black folk to white folk in other parts of the city. It took a wealth of patience and trying to gather up a bunch of information to target the points that they were asking. You had to stick with the questions and do it as succinctly as possible. And so I tried to pack a power punch with each statement that I made. And I have a problem for talking too much and writing too much. And so I had to hone it down and whittle things out. I had an advantage because I was a grant manager. So even though I hadn't wrote grants, I reviewed grants and approved them. And I saw some pretty crappy proposals. I was like, I can do better than that. I mean, I know I could tell a better story than that, And so just looking at the big don'ts of what people would do is just send, one or two pieces of paper. They wouldn't back it up with statistics. They would just copy and provide a generic cookie cutter thing that they pulled off the website, something that we said, not even elaborating on it. I found that I had to sell myself. I had to brag on myself, which is not comfortable, but I had to walk like I know this stuff. And I think that I delivered it so much more better the second time around than the first time. And And I actually wrote 2 grants in this round of the R3 funding. I wrote one for almost $1 million. And I was so focused on that one. That was the one that I really, really wanted. And 2 hours to go. It's about to close out. And I said, don't leave no money on the table. You didn't apply for that other service planning side. And I threw something together, copied and pasted, made it look pretty, threw some statistics in there. And that's the grant that I got. And so it was like, it wasn't the amount that I wanted. And I really wanted to do the business incubator part. But this was even more important, working with the reentry and violence prevention. And I came with a level of, I'm not going to say expertise, but I had already on my job focused on returning citizens. And I had been, when they see us, and I've been looking at different type of movies where people were trying to transition from institutional care back into the community. So I was already gathering that data, and it just fit in with what my interests were. So my strongest point was I went for something that I knew and I understood, and I could access people that would feed me some information so I could throw some good stuff up in there and secure journal articles and books to reference and websites and so forth. I don't know if that helps, but
no, that was really, really good. And you know what? That's a great, I think it's just awesome that you're on the call today and you can actually share firsthand what it looks like to get a grant and kind of some of the points that you talked about, the research, the data that you're putting in. These are things that we're going to talk about, but you even expressing it as someone who successfully got a grant, you know, is so important in order to be a good candidate for the grant. It's risk management in a sense, you know, like they have to make sure, is she really going to do, you know, is she really qualified? Does she have the right connections? And so you were able to really show and explain that. So that's really good. Thank you for sharing that. And so now I'm going to go ahead and go into the presentation so we could break this down a little bit more. So, you all can see my screen okay? Okay, cool. So I came up with this methodology called the COP method in order to explain and what I think is a simple way of, first of all, differentiating between a grant and a loan, but also just helping you to understand the process, what's needed, you know, how do you successfully get it, right? So it's called the COP method. And so we're going to get into it. The first letter of the COP method is C, which stands for change your mindset about prioritizing relationship building with resource organizations. So relationships do play a key role a lot of times in being the person chosen for a grant or loan. It's hard to do things as an individual entity. You do need a support system, a network that kind of gives more reputability to you in your organization. So when we say change your mindset about relationship building, as it relates to grants, there are a few relationships that you should really consider taking seriously. First is your local chamber of commerce. Why do I say that? The Chamber of Commerce is created to support the small business owners and entrepreneurs in their respective jurisdiction. In addition to that, a lot of times I get questions about, well, how do I find out about these grants? Like, how do I find out about these opportunities? The Chambers of Commerce are always disseminating that information out to their, you know, to the people who are subscribed to their newsletters or to their members. And so I would make it a point to figure out where your local Chamber of Commerce is and to make a point of contact, learn more about what programming and things that they offer. There's many chambers of commerce. Start with the local one, you know, and if you don't feel that they have a sufficient enough resources or information for you, look at some of the other chambers, because I guarantee you will find one that is going to be beneficial, but you really want to work with the local one because you have to pay dues for it. And so you want to make sure you're getting the benefits from a local perspective. The second, third, fourth, and fifth are the municipalities, the federal government, the state government, the city, and the county. Each one of these entities put grant dollars out there, or they allocate them out. It comes from other sources of money, a lot of times from the federal side of things, is where the monies are coming from. But even from a state and city and county, like they have budgeted dollars out. One thing that I've learned is that once upon a time, you know, these local these municipalities would allocate dollars out, maybe, you know, through other forms of just like cutting you a check, or, you know, you applying for a program and it's like, okay, they look like a good fit. But there was a lot of mishandling of money. It was a lot of people who weren't doing what they said that they were going to do with the dollars. So pretty much all of them have switched to now putting all of this money in grant form. And the reason they're doing that is because it allows them to have, it allows them to make sure that you are being held accountable. And we'll talk more about what that accountability piece looks like. But generally speaking, you want to be connected to the departments of commerce in each one of these. For the federal government, it's actually a website called grants.gov. That's where they put out all of the different notice of funding opportunities through the federal government. But through your state, let me get my pointer. So through your state, your city, and your county, you want to be connected with their respective departments of commerce. That's where the funds for these different levels of government are coming through. A bonus relationship that you want to consider is your local politician, especially if the grant money is coming through a municipality, not through a private organization, you know, but through your local government. Having a letter of support from your alderman, from your mayor, from your governor, that's powerful. I can almost guarantee you, if you have a letter of support from your local politician, you're going to get the grant. And so that's something that you want to take into consideration when you're thinking about grant dollars. What network of support, who do I have, or who do I know who can vouch for me that's bigger than me? Because that's important, because you're up against a lot of different competition. So you have to think of ways you can set yourself apart. Now, as it relates to business loans, there are 3 organizations, among many others, but we'll talk about 3 today, organizations that I would encourage you all to be connected with. CDFI stands for Community Development Financial Institutions. What are these? These are like baby banks. So as a startup or early stage business, I can guarantee you won't be able to go to a traditional lender and get capital. At minimum, they require you to be in business for 3 years for traditional lending. CDFIs are considered non-traditional forms of lending, but they're like baby banks. So they're still banking institutions, but they're created specifically to do seed capital, to do micro loans, to work with startup companies and early stage companies. So CDFIs, if you, I'll send you all a resource sheet with direct links to be able to search, you know, what CDFIs are within proximity to you. But that's where, if you really want to go the loan route as a startup and early stage business, that's the organization, that the network, I should say, that's where you want to go, to CDFIs. Another resource is the WBDC, the Women's Business Development Center. So most people don't know that WBDC offers lending opportunities, but they do. In addition to that, they have a lot of programming and support to really help you get to where you need to be, so that in you getting this funding, you know how to use it in order to grow your business. Because what happens, you can get the money, and if you don't budget it properly, if you don't allocate it properly, if you don't really have a financial plan to understand the terms of your loan. So I can afford to do a $500,000 loan at 2% over a 5-year term, because that's going to make me I might have to pay, let's just throw a number, $250 a month. I can afford that. You'll go into something just like, I need $1 million. You know, you don't even really understand the terms of the loan, and if you will actually be able to pay that loan back, because you will have to guarantee that loan. So if the business doesn't work, you're going to have to pay that money back still. So you really want to make sure you understand the full landscape. So WBDC is great because not only do they offer lending to you, and it's non-traditional lending, so they do offer that seed capital, that startup money, but they also have educational supportive services to make sure you really understand how to use that money effectively. And then the last resource is the SBA, the Small Business Administration. So that's federal. The reason you want to be connected with the SBA is because they regulate everything. So you can, they not only do they offer different loans and grants as well, but they regulate everything. So you can kind of get an idea of what terms are out there, what programs are out there. Most of the banks work with the SBA. So when you're going to a bank, to a lending institution, you want to come having done your due diligence, kind of understanding what's out there, because the bank is into their business is to make their money back. Okay. So if they're telling you how it's going to go and you just like, okay, that sounds right, that might not have been the best route for you, but you didn't necessarily know what was out there, or have done your due diligence in a way where you can come empowered and say like, no, this loan through the SBA said that, by partnering with the bank, I'll get a lower interest rate, or, I get a longer term, or whatever that looks like. But it's just important for you to come empowered with that information so that they're not telling you what to do, but you can literally come in and know exactly what you're looking for. And if it's a no, then it's a no. You go to a different bank. So that is the first C in the COP method. The O stands for organize your financials, become familiar with what's available and what you need the money for. So as a for-profit business, your financials are crucial in being assessed as a low-risk lendee or grantee. Before we go into this slide, I want to just share some information as it relates to grants. So I think there's a bit of a misconception. I think, Jatan, what you shared earlier about being a grant manager and being able to see how people throw things together. A lot of people do that because I don't think that people really understand the level of, first of all, competition, right? So you have people who they're not new to this, like they do this. This is part of their financial strategy. So they're coming with it. And you just like, oh, this looks like a great opportunity. Let me just kind of throw something together. And, and then you kind of feel like, well, why don't, and this is something here, why don't Black people specifically, why don't we ever get grant dollars? Like, why don't we ever, but like on the other side of it, because I've been a grant manager as well, when you read some of the grants, it's like, well, that's why, like, you would be a high risk person to give it to. Like, you have not answered the questions effectively. You haven't showed you don't have a budget that makes sense, especially on that budget piece. Some of the things that I've seen that works really well, if there are estimates that you need for different type of work, if you will, have more than one estimate and show them like, this is truly the lowest cost. Like, I've done my research. I've, reached out to multiple companies for this particular line item or this part of the budget. And this is truly the best price. All of that extra effort that you put into it, it really helps your total proposal and to have you to be seen as a low risk lendee. Is this person going to mismanage the money? Are their financials organized? Does their budget make sense? Or are they high risk? Okay. So when it comes to organizing your financials, let's start with business grants and what that means for business grants. First and foremost, there is a database called GATA. It's the Grants and Transparency Act, GATA. GATA is the precursor for a lot, not all municipalities, but through most local government, because this is through a federal database. But what GATA really does is it shows that you're in good standing with the IRS, in addition to doing a risk assessment is part of GATA. The risk assessment that they're doing has everything to do with your financials. Understanding how you're going to separate the money. What things do you have in place? Do you have a bookkeeper? Who's going to be the one responsible for making sure you're spending these grant dollars for what you have written in this grant that they will be allocated for? So you want to make sure, as it relates to grants, you are registered on GATA, but more importantly, that you're in good standing with the IRS, your business is, because if you're not, you simply will not get the grant. Secondly, a clearly defined project budget. I talked about that a little bit a second ago. Your budget has to make sense. Just because they have a ceiling of $1 million and that's what you want, if you can't justify $1 million in your project budget in a way that makes sense, you simply will not be able, you just won't get the grant. So when you're thinking through, and so when you're looking at these different grant opportunities and you're thinking through trying to make it fit, like, I could use a grant to help me get a building, right? It has to be clearly defined. So if you know that within this $500, you need excavation, you need a general contractor, you need an electrician, you need a plumber, all these different, it needs to be clearly defined, each line item. And again, as a bit of information, I would be looking to have 2 different budgets showing that, hey, I did 2 different estimates. This is truly the best, this is truly the tightest budget or the best budget for this particular product. So you want to go over and above, okay, when it comes to the budget, because it's really important. Third is there will be between a quarterly through annual, like depending upon who's giving you the money, it will be between quarterly and annual compliance check. What does that mean? They are going to check in with you and ask you, where are you on your project? Let me see some invoices. How much of this have you, okay, you said your timeline for your project would be 2 years, and you said at 6 months you would have this much done. Let's do a check and see where you are. How much of that money have you spent? I need to see the invoices to make sure that you're allocating the monies out the way that you said that you are. Another bit of information for you: when you get a grant, they do not cut you a check for the full amount. You will get compliance checks, and they will make sure you are doing what you're supposed to do. The moment they do a compliance check and you don't, and it shows that you don't do what you're supposed to do, you have probably, you will be at risk of losing that money that you were awarded. And so the financials being organized is crucial for you before you get the grant. And then once you get the grant, you have to make sure your financials are organized. And then finally, our financial statements. So depending upon who the grant is, or the grantor is, they may ask you for financial statements, your profit and loss, your balance sheet, your federal taxes. Those are your financial statements. So they may ask you for that information. I've seen it on some and I've not seen it on others, but that's just, a bit of information that you should know that they may ask you for in applying for a grant. Now, there's one more point I want to make about grants. Okay, couple points. First point being, you don't get the money right away. So I get a lot of people that are waiting to do a project, or let's say not a project, waiting to start their businesses sometimes because they're waiting for, they want to wait and try to get a grant to do that. But it's important to understand that even when you're awarded, so when you apply for the grant, I would say, at minimum, no, I wouldn't even say a month, a couple months at minimum, about 3 to 6 months maximum before you even found out if you awarded. So you've applied and I don't find out until months later that I'm awarded. Once you're awarded, you waiting another few months or so before they cut you that first check. And here's something that needs to be known as well. Most grants, when it comes through municipalities, federal, local government, it's either a match grant or a reimbursement grant. So you either have to show them, if you're looking for $25,000, you have to show them that you have $25,000 in the bank. That's match. Or it's reimbursement, which means if you need $25,000, you have to submit the invoice to them, and then they will reimburse you that $25,000. It's not so non-for-profits are a little bit different depending upon who their grantor is. They might get cut a check and they don't, but when you talk about through municipalities, I've not seen yet, and it could be that some of them do just cut you a check. I've not seen it. It's either reimbursement or it's a match grant. So trying to start a business with grant dollars and not having any capital, I've not seen success there. That's what I'll say. I can't make a blanket statement, but for me personally and the grant writers on my team, that has not been our experience. You will have to have some capital on hand and you still being granted this grant. So that's for the bank or for the business grant side. So on the business loan side, when we say organize your financials, first and foremost, business credit. And if not business credit, then personal credit. You have to have a good handle. Okay, you have to have established business credit if you are a more mature business and looking for a traditional loan. For startups and early stage businesses, and when we talked about those CDFIs, you probably won't have established business credit yet, you know? And so they're going to heavily, with the 5 C's, you know, that credit C will be based on your personal credit. So if your credit is not in a good place, it doesn't mean that you won't get the loan, but I can guarantee you your interest rate will be higher. So having your business credit at a good place and kind of knowing what your credit score is, if it's not where it needs to be, being able to explain why it isn't where it needs to be and what the course of action to mitigate that is, it will be important for you, because when you get a loan, you will have to do a presentation. And so a part of this presentation, you want to come already knowing like, yeah, you know, my credit score is a 690, but I'm working with X company. And so in 3 months, it'll be at whatever. Or, you know, you just want to come knowing what the plan of action is and knowing and being able to explain why your credit is what it is. Next is your personal and business tax returns. This will be a part of the loan process. And so you want to make sure you have this information and it's done correctly. If you don't have business taxes yet, then it will just be your personal tax return. But if you've been in business for a full calendar year and you are looking to get a loan, they will ask you to submit that tax return. If you go, most lenders are going to ask you for 3 years of tax returns, but in working with the CDFI, which again is the Community Development Financial Institutions, and because they know they're doing seed capital, startup capital, micro loans for early stagers, you know, if you have not been in business for a full calendar year yet, it will be predicated off of your personal taxes that you'll need to be able to submit. Next is your most recent paycheck stubs. So this is more geared toward, well, so let's stay within the CDFI, because I believe everybody here, well, Keisha, maybe you all might be established, but even for traditional forms of lending, they still want to see your W-2 to make sure, you know, to kind of see what your revenues are looking like. But for that early stage startup business looking to get capital, and maybe you haven't really made money in your business yet, they're going to need to see your check stubs, because you will have to guarantee that loan. It won't just be a loan under business name. It will be like business name co-signed by the owner type of thing. And the reason for that is, like I said earlier, if the business unfortunately does not do well, they still expect you to pay that loan back. And then your financial statements is going to be the final piece. So financial statements, again, for business loans, cash flow statement or profit and loss statement, depending upon how you are. Cash flow statement is for businesses that do cash business. So Kefra, you probably definitely would be in the food service, you know, you handling money. So you would need a cash flow statement in addition to a profit and loss statement. Everybody will need a balance sheet. There's a break-even analysis to really understand, you know, we understand that you have a lot of expenses in your business, but with your revenues, when do you expect to break even? Those are just the most basic forms, but depending upon the lending institution, there may be other types of financial statements that they will ask you for. So it's just important to know, as you're thinking about getting monies, you want to from the start have your financials organized, work with an accountant who can kind of help you through that process if you are not familiar with financial statements or just accounting in general. Are there any questions before I move on to the next slide? Are we okay? Okay. So the other part of The O in organize your financials is know what's available and what you actually need the money for. And what I mean by that is a lot of times people want grant dollars, but really what based on what they're telling me they need it for, they will fall into the loan bucket. And so it's just important to kind of understand when I say what's available, knowing what's available from a grant perspective, and then knowing what you need the money for, or do you fall into that loan bucket? So let's break this down a little bit. So as it relates to business grants, there are, let me just go through these real quick. Generally speaking, now there are other types of grants, like we're not talking about PPP or anything like that, because that's a situational type of grant. But generally speaking, for businesses, okay, grants fall into these 6 buckets. Capital grants. Capital grants are for business acquisition and renovation. So if you want to have a brick and mortar location for your business, you can get a grant to acquire that space. Or if you already have a space, you can get a grant to help renovate that space out. The infrastructure of it though, not the equipment and all of that, but the infrastructure, you can get a grant for that. Then there are technical assistance grants. So let's say you're in an area where you don't have access to broadband or Wi-Fi and you need this in order to run your business. There are grant dollars out there for you. Workforce development grants. So if you are hiring people from a second chance community, I heard you talk about recidivism earlier, Jatan. So let's say you have a workforce development program that you're trying to hire people and, give them an opportunity to make some money. There are grant dollars out there for you to offset the cost of what you would have to pay them. Education and research grants. So, Ashley, maybe you want to do some research on the population that you're working with and how, your program or this style of programming really helps this person who struggles with addiction, to really help them to no longer operate in that space. There are grants out there for you. Impact grants. So if you are impacting a certain community through your business, there are grants out there for you to help you with your programming, in a sense, to be able to scale it to maybe a larger populace than what you're currently able to work with. And then there are startup and seed grants out there. This is a hard one. This is the one that everybody wants. They're out there. What I will say to you, these don't come through municipalities, generally speaking. So this is not coming through federal, local government. This is typically coming from private organizations. And because of that, a lot of times it's opened up to a larger group, if you will. So it might be like Verizon. I know they have some out there, everybody has some out there. So it's not impossible, but sometimes it's harder to get these because they don't have like these restrictions industry wise, or it's just open to everybody. Whoever's idea that we think is a good idea and is kind of in alignment with our brand and what we're doing, then you might be a good candidate for. So a lot of times it's really doing research on who that grantor is. Do our values align? Do I have a type of business that, it makes sense for them to fund me? If it's something through the restaurant association, well, let me probably go ahead and do that because I know at least at minimum, we're in the same industry. So I'm a good fit for it. Now, business loans, these are what fall into the business loan bucket. And a lot of times this is what people are looking for and they're looking to get grants for it. But when you talk about business, and then another thing with grants that we kind of already talked about is you have to use that money for what it's allocated for. You have no wiggle room. If you said that you're using this grant to get a building, then that's all you're using. You are not paying yourself. You are not paying a business coach. You're not paying your grant writer with this. You are paying the expenses that were listed in that budget. And if in the notice of funding opportunity, if they don't say that, you can pay consultants with this money, don't write that in the grant. You won't get the money. They're telling you what the monies are being allocated for. So you have to use them for what they have been intended for. So with business loans, you do not have that same restriction. You can go in, saying I need working capital, and then you realize like, oh shoot, I need some equipment, but you've budgeted properly where you can still, get the equipment and you can still cover the working capital costs. So just as a note, you have flexibility here. So Business loans, the line items are working capital, inventory and supplies, furniture and fixtures, machinery and equipment. Those are going to be loans. Those are not going to be grants. Any questions? Okay. So we've gone through the C, we've gone through the O. Now we're going to go through the first P, which is a pitch deck and business plan. It is not an option. It's a requirement. And this is what separates the real from the fake and determines who will get the capital that they need. So as it relates to business grants, let's talk through what a business plan and a pitch deck could actually do for you. So I'm a grant writer. I have a team of grant writers that work for me. When we are bringing on a client, so the thing about Jatan is she was writing a grant for herself. So she don't have to explain anything about herself to herself, like you are yourself. When you bring on a grant writer, we have to learn you. And a lot of times we're working on a deadline. So we don't have, you know, hours and hours of trying to get to know you and understand your business. We kind of need you to come geared and ready to give us something to work from to make sure we're answering. And then we can have like, hey, okay, I saw in the business plan it said X, Y, and Z, but they're asking this question. Can you give me a little more information? Okay. So let's go back here. So as it relates to your business grants, the business narrative, that is so important. Jatan made a great statement when she talked about the questions that they're asking you are the questions you need to answer. All the fluff and all this stuff that really don't have anything to do with necessarily what the question is not the way to go. You have to answer the question as it's asked and be able to elaborate with additional information answering that specific question, right? So a business plan really helps us to capture that business narrative. And then, like I said, if we need some more nuances added in there, then we can talk through that, but it gives us the foundation. It's a business, or excuse me, a pitch deck is a unique value add. So when most people think about pitch decks, they think of like venture capitalists, or, you know, I'm in Silicon Valley trying to, you know, get a investor to invest. But a pitch deck is a powerful tool for so many other reasons. And when I say unique value add, most people are not submitting pitch decks. A pitch deck is giving a high level understanding. So if this grant is for, let's say, a development project or something like that. I'm trying to think of something that's visual, right? To be able to, because you're a lot of times in your grant, they may, you know, you can put pictures and stuff in the appendices, but it's just like, you know, look at this picture or look at this this blueprint or what have you. A pitch deck allows you to illustrate through branding, through visuals, through high level information before they get into the grant. Before they get into all these pages of what they have to read through in the grant, it almost gives you like a high level understanding of what I'm about to dive into. And I can also add some pictures in there. I can put a picture of myself in there. I can show my whole team if I wanted to show you, to really show the impact. I can put, you know, resumes are going to be a part of this. Like that's just going to be a part of your grant process. But in addition to that, you know, you can put some faces to it. Like it's a value add. Okay. It's unique because most people aren't thinking that way as it relates to a grant or even a loan in the same respect. So it gives you a unique value add. Impact data. So with the business plan, that's where a lot of times when people want grants, okay, grants are like a lot of it has to do with programming sometimes. Like what's your programming? Who is it going to impact? What does that actually look like? So most times, people don't always have this programming built out. But when we read through your business plan, it gives us like such a good understanding. We can help you build the programming out. Like we can kind of help you through pulling certain information from your business plan to help you develop programming or structure what you're already doing into a programming format so that it makes sense for the grant. And so the business plan and the pitch deck are not really optional if you're bringing in A pitch deck is optional. I feel like it's not. I always recommend my clients do it, but the business plan is almost not optional when you're working with a grant writer. If you really want to get this grant money, if you're giving us a one page about your business, or you're sending us to your website, like Jatan said, I mean, this is how it goes. Like people, well, yeah, you can just look on my website and pull some information off of there. Well, it's not enough. Like we need more. We need more quality content in order to really position you to get the money that you're looking for. And then as far as a business loan is concerned, it is simply required for you to have a business plan. Like that's a part of the loan application, especially always, but especially when you're a startup. You have no data, you have no track record, you have no proof of concept. They have to go based on what is your plan to be able to pay this loan back. Basically, how are you going to launch this business? What is your plan to make money? Who is your market? How are you going to reach your market? Who's on your team? What is your financial plan? What are your operating costs? What are your startup costs? When are you going to break even and then be profitable? All of this information is going to be a part of your business plan. And sometimes I know people who will kind of throw a business plan together, and it's like, yeah, I did it myself. I did my business plan myself. And it's like, when you read it, it's like, that I see why you're not getting the loan, or I see why you're not getting the capital, because it really doesn't make sense. Like because you don't necessarily know what you're doing. You just kind of answering the questions like, oh, I think that makes sense. Or I think that, but this is going to be the tool that is going to allow you to get the capital and make the banks feel like you are, again, a low risk lendee. And then again, the pitch deck is going to set you apart. It gives you an opportunity to give a high level visual of what they're going to dive into more deeply when they open up that business plan. And it's an opportunity for you to show especially if you have a visual based business, or if you're using this, you want to get this money to develop something out or what have you. It just allows you to add some visuals and branding to this business loan application that you are submitting. So I want to tell you all, we talked about this. Well, Ashley, you mentioned it earlier. So I created an online course. I've worked with so many businesses in these two spaces of grants and loans. In 2019, I created an online course, and it is an 8-week course where you will create a business plan and a pitch deck. The reason I did this is because at one point we were writing business plans for business owners, allowing them to kind of edit, if you will, and say, oh yeah, that looks good. Like, thank you. Right. But then when it came to you having to explain your business or really understanding your business, it just wasn't there. You didn't do the work. You didn't do the research. We did all the work for you. You just kind of signed off on it. And so what I've learned since then is, if the business owner does the work and they have a business coach who is working with them and answering those questions about some things that you just simply may not understand, just given the fact that you are not, let me see, it looks like y'all can't see. Is it bigger now? Okay, I didn't know it was small. Okay, I'm sorry. But I saw everybody like coming in on the screen. But if you have a business coach, someone who has the business acumen to support you through this process, you can come up with a really good business plan. And now you have a tool for so many different things, for bringing partners in, to bring, to getting capital for your business, to help understand for yourself, what is really the plan here? I've invested money. I done bought a space. I done bought equipment, but I really don't know how I'm making money. I really don't know how I'm reaching my market. All of the different questions that you have about your business will absolutely be answered once you develop a business plan. But it's helpful for you to have someone to help you through it. So I just want to give you all a quick breakdown of what the 8 weeks look like. So week 1, we're talking about a risk assessment. Basically, we're assessing the risk of your business idea. And not to say that if it is risky that you have to completely not do it, but it's important for you to understand the level of risk that you're going in. All business ideas are risky, but there are levels to the risk that you're going into. And if you understand what type of risk you may encounter, you can be proactive about mitigating that on the front end. The second week, we go into your company description, which is much more intricate than you may think. Week 3, we focus on the mission and vision statement. Week 4 is really marketing and sales. Week 5 is operations and management plan. Week 6 is your product description and intellectual property. Week 7 is the financial plan. And then week 8, we do the executive summary and we create the pitch deck. So you are going back to school for 8 weeks. Okay. We meet twice, within the 8 weeks, we meet 2 times a week. So we meet a total of 16 times over 8 weeks. The first day of the week is the curriculum. That's 3 hours. And so we are going through all of these different modules that I talked about. The second day of the week is a group coaching session. So I bring in IP attorney, I bring in an accountant, I bring in a business banker, I bring in a marketing specialist. And then on the other 4 weeks that we don't have expert guest speakers, we literally have a group business coaching session, because I guarantee you, once you learn, digest, work on your homework, you're going to have questions. And so we take an opportunity for us to be able to have a coaching session to make sure what you're putting together makes sense and your questions are being answered, rather than you kind of throwing stuff just together because it's like, I think it makes sense. And so just as the additional benefits, in addition to what the curriculum that you're learning, your business plan and pitch deck will be professionally edited. I have a team of 5 professional writers, grant writers, proposal writers, they're writers, right? They're going to edit this document at the end. You're going to do the work of putting it together, but it will be edited to make sure it makes sense. The language is correct. So for whatever you're looking to use this document for, at least you have a tight plan that you've written. We have the group coaching sessions that I talked about. You'll have a community of entrepreneurs. So for our second cohort that we're recruiting for right now starts March 6th, but we're limiting it to 14 people. And so, but you will have a community of entrepreneurs who are in the same space as you, and you'll be surprised just how much you learn from one another, because pretty much all the people that affiliate with me are professionals already. Like, I have a job, I've been doing this for a long time, but I want to start my own thing. Like, I know I can do it myself. I know my industry, I know my craft. I just need support with the business side. So y'all are already smart, and you just be surprised at the brainstorming and information that's gathered just from the other people in the room when you're kind of thinking through this stuff and going through it. So a community is powerful. You will get an accountability partner. So the homework is real. And I'm gonna show you all a quick testimonial video from the graduate, 3 of the graduates from the last class. But just know, you're going back to school, you're getting homework, it's work. You are literally working on your business. So the accountability partner is important, because you need to stay on task. The 8 weeks is going to go by fairly quickly, and you want to make sure you have your stuff ready for when it's time for it to be edited. You don't want to, give a half written, because then you're not getting the fullness out of the purpose of the program. And then you will master your 30-second elevator pitch. This is so important. It's so important for you to be able to communicate what you do effectively in any setting. And so every class we open up with your elevator pitch. Each time we bring a guest speaker in, you open it up with that elevator pitch. They should be able to understand what your business is about. And so if that's something that you haven't mastered, we go through the process of creating this. And that's in week 1, we actually do this, but creating it. And then throughout the 8 weeks, by the end of the 8 weeks, you will have mastered your 30-second elevator pitch. And then the expert guest speakers we already talked about. And then there's a pitch competition that we do after each cohort. So for those people who are a part of the cohort, you are able to, if you would like to, it's optional, but you are able to participate in a pitch competition where there is a cash prize. The panelists that I bring on are usually the CEOs of these large entities. For example, for cohort the last cohort we had, I don't know if you all are familiar with the Chicago Minority Supplier Development Council. They are like the certifying body for minority business enterprises, but they have, it's national. Now, this is a national organization, the Chicago chapter, but this is who you would get certified through so that you can get private corporate accounts, right? Like if you're looking to do that B2B, where I want to work with hospital systems, educational systems, you need to be certified, right? So they're the certifying body, but the organizations that they work with have vested interests. And so they look to work with the businesses who are certified. So he gave each person that was in the pitch competition, not the winner, everybody got a free scholarship to get certified with CMSDC just because he was there and he just wanted to do something good. So it's a great opportunity for you to not only be able to win cash money, but based on whoever the judges are, naturally they are there to be extra supportive of you and just being vulnerable enough to do a pitch competition. And so I want to just show you all real quick this video so that you can get an idea of what some of the feedback was from people who have gone through the online course and how it helped them.
Came into contact with when I was trying to get a grant, when I was applying for a grant last year. So when I checked out your masterclass for funding, going over your COP method, you know, you approached me and let me know about the class. And it was pretty much in line for everything that I was planning to do in my off season. And I didn't even mention what I do. My name is Brian Gregory once again, and I own an ice cream shop. So from September through March mostly is my off season. Now, my plan was to spend my off season just digging deep into the business and trying to systematize everything and just prepare for growth in the next season and just overall.
It's no sound. It's no sound.
People who want to grow.
I can't.
In business.
Sorry about that, y'all.
It's a good thing to be around people like-minded entrepreneurs, people who want to grow, people who want to who have like love and they're ready to work on their own business. Kristina, you delivered on everything that you said you would. On the other side of it, I definitely would do it again, and I can't wait to refer you to anyone else who's looking to upgrade their own business.
Thank you. I appreciate you for that. I really do. I appreciate that a lot. I started pretty much from scratch. I came in and I did not have a business plan or a pitch deck or anything. I just had a really great idea, education, and a practice that I was running. But that was really it. And so it really helped me to flesh out the ideas that I had and make it a reality, because I felt as though I didn't think of mental health services as a business. And so really looking at, going through the process of the financial aspect of it, even staffing and all of that. So it grew from me just deciding to say it's just me doing this to maybe I want to bring on other people, and what would that look like and what is the future? And so that was one of the biggest things for me that this program helped with, was to kind of start from scratch and now have a fleshed out business plan and a pitch deck, and feel very confident about the success of my business and where it's going.
Thank you, Kristina, so much for this opportunity for this program. Because when I tell you, like, where we started from, I was like, I don't even think this is for me. I don't even know if I fit. I don't know totally where I'm going. And so just to have, really feel the confidence and see the growth and see, I feel very different. This is my baby now. And so I'm excited for next year and what's going to happen. And this cohort has been amazing. Brian and Victoria, you guys are amazing support, and just thank you. And I'm so proud of you guys too, because we have all grown so much from our beginning. And so it's been an amazing experience, and I'm looking forward to keeping in contact with everybody.
Hello, everybody. My name is Victoria Wilson. I joined the Winners Club for multiple reasons. First of all, I've been knowing Kristina Wynne for a while, and she is such an excellent resource. And so when she offered this opportunity to come into the Winners Club, I was like, yeah, I need that help. Kristina has really been such an excellent tool. Everybody in the Winners Club circle has been an excellent resource and helped me to truly flush out a lot of the challenges that I have in my corporation. I am a serial entrepreneur, and so I have multiple different types of umbrella companies and businesses underneath my corporation. And so it really allowed for me to really have that time to go through each of my business services and products to really distinguish the difference between one business entity from another. And so that was one of the biggest challenges walking into the door. And I'm so grateful for this 8-week course, because it really allowed for me to focus on what I need to focus on for the upcoming year.
Okay. So I hope you guys like that little video, but I think it's important to have a firsthand account from people who've gone through it to really kind of understand the value in it. So I hope that you all like that. So now back into the presentation, we're gonna do the last P of the COP method, and that is pay a professional or join a membership organization if you don't know what to do. Invest in yourself. So I like to say pay to play. You will lose more money by doing it yourself than if you invest in the expert. I can guarantee you that, because I've gotten a lot of these people on the back end. And so do it right from the front or from the beginning. It's going to save you money in the long run. So when I say pay to play, who am I saying that you should pay to play with? So as it relates to grants, I mentioned this earlier, your chambers of commerce. This is an information hub, in addition to the fact that they have a lot of relationships. So I work with a lot of different chambers. They're connected to the banks, they're connected to the state organizations, they're connected to the city, they're connected to all these contracting opportunities. They are connected. That is their purpose. And so it is to your benefit to go ahead and pay the annual membership fee. It is not that expensive, especially for startup or early stage businesses, because they base it off of your revenues, like your annual revenue. So if you're a startup, like you don't really have any revenues yet, it's going to be a couple $100. And the most that it goes to is like a couple $1,000. And this is for larger organizations. And so in my opinion, it is worth you looking into your Chamber of Commerce and being actively engaged with your Chamber of Commerce for different type of resources, but specifically grants. And then the Winners Club. If you don't know how to write grants, if writing isn't your strong suit, if you don't know how to source grants, or even, there's a thing like fit is a thing, sometimes you just aren't fit for a grant. I mean, sometimes it's not that particular grant isn't fit for you, but there might be a different one or a better one out there. So we do grant sourcing. We have all these different databases that we work from. We'll continue to send you, once we get an understanding of your business, and we'll continue to send you grant opportunities that come down the pipeline that makes sense for you. So if you don't have the time, the energy, or just the skill set of grant writing, I encourage you, hire the Winners Club or hire a grant writer of some sort to help you with that process if you're serious about trying to get grant dollars for your business. And then as it relates to business loans, again, your Chamber of Commerce, as I mentioned earlier, they have relationships with banking institutions in their respective areas. So sometimes, well, first of all, banking relationships, business banking relationships are really important when you talk about wanting to get a loan. You need to have an established banking relationship. Maybe you don't know which bank to bank with. It's a lot of options out there. Maybe you want to, you need some more information or support. The Chamber of Commerce can help you with these things and kind of help guide you to what may be the best fit for you. An accountant is important on the front end of things. You don't want to scramble. You want to have the money. So there is a saying, you want to get a loan before you need it, right? And that's true, because when you need it at this point, you're kind of flustered and scrambling type of thing. But if you start working with an accountant on the front end of things, helping you keep your financials organized, and maybe you do, let me just start with a line of credit just so that I can start building my business credit in different ways, right? You still have to have your financials organized. You have to be submitting your taxes properly. You can't try to write everything off or have everything as a what is it, like a not a write off, it's a I can't even think what I'm trying to say. But like, you're basically, for lack of a better term, you're writing all your expenses off because you're trying not to pay taxes. Well, when it comes time for you to need some stuff, it's like, well, it don't look like you really making any money, because everything you've written off as, not an expense. So work with an accountant who is integrous and not, just trying to make sure they saving you money. Yeah, save money, but like, understand my long-term goal so that I'm positioning myself from an accountancy perspective, because it's super important, to be able to be positioned to get this money. A business advisor, we talked about that, but understanding your business, understanding your finances, like a business/financial advisor, if you will. Sometimes you think you need $50,000, but when you're working with somebody, they kind of help you to understand, like, well, you can kind of cut something here and move this here, and really you only need like $15,000 to get the same amount of, to get the same work that you wanted to get done, but just not having a good grasp on the financial side of your business. You kind of just throwing numbers out there. So working with a business advisor or a financial advisor is something that you should consider. And then again, the Winners Club. So we do loan sourcing. If you don't know how to source loans and kind of, you only kind of know one bank, well, there's a lot of different options as it relates to capital. So we do the sourcing. We can help you with the application and making sure you have all the different components that you need properly laid out, everything that they're asking you for, and submitting, and then helping you through. You will have to give a presentation again, so you have to know how to talk about your finances and what you need them for. So just helping you through that process, that's something that we can help you with as well. So don't be afraid to pay an expert to help you, because it will save you money in the long run. So what are the next steps? Some of the resources that I went over with you all, I just want to make sure you got all of them. So I just want to pull this sheet up for you real quick so we can walk through these resources, but I'm going to send these to you ladies who are on the call so that you have the direct links. Let me make this a little bigger because I know, okay. So again, the Winners Club, we have an online course to help you create a business plan and a pitch deck. We have professional grant writers, and we've cumulatively collected it's about $3.6 million in grant dollars since 2018. So we know what we're doing in this space. So if you need support with this grant situation, consider hiring us. Your local Chamber of Commerce. Again, it's a voluntary partnership of businesses and professionals working together to build a healthy economy. But most importantly, it is their fiduciary responsibility to help the entrepreneurs and small business owners in their respective jurisdiction. That is what they are funded to do. So take advantage of their resources. You don't have to be a member to take advantage of some of their resources, but if you are a member, it does give you more access. The SBA. So they have a whole micro loan page and program, but generally speaking, the SBA works with lenders. So they're working with these different banking institutions to provide loans to small businesses. And so this will be the link that you can go directly to look at some of the loan programs that they have through the SBA. Again, I told you about the WBDC, and knowing that they help you access capital through the WBDC. And they typically do loans that are less than, wait, right. So, okay, that's what I was saying. So they provide loans to small businesses who otherwise, the reason you can't, because remember, well, I didn't mention this. Another thing about banks, in addition to being in business 3 years, they're typically doing loans like $150,000 or greater, maybe, $50,000. Micro loans are considered like less than $50,000, but some banks don't even do that low. Like some of them, you got to be like in the $250,000 range, depending on the banking institution. But WBDC, they will do micro loans. They'll do smaller loans for you, and they will do a loan for you even if you're in business less than 2 years or 3 years, 2 years, 2 years. And then CDFI. So I talked about this earlier, the Community Development Financial Institutions. And this will be a master list of CDFIs for you guys to look through and kind of determine, if you want to touch base with them or, ask for programs, information, or if you need money to at least start establishing that relationship with them, because it is relational, so you want to establish a relationship, help them to understand more about your business, what you need capital for, and going into that relationship. So these are the main resources to be mindful of from this presentation. So now going back into our next steps here, you just learned the COP method. I hope it was informative for you all. I hope that you got a lot out of it, and I'm definitely open to any questions that you all have thereafter. But in the meantime and in between time, if you want to have a one-on-one conversation, if you want to kind of ask more specific questions or what have you, feel free to book a free discovery call with me. I'm more than happy to hop on the phone and just understand more about what you need. And if we're not the best fit for you, I'm a resource hub. Like, I'm a resource junkie. It's so many resources out here, and I'm more than happy to put you in alignment with a resource that makes sense for you if we aren't the best fit for you. And then sign up for our newsletter so that you can stay abreast to all the different master classes. Our next master class is Thursday. We have Mark Yates coming in. He's going to talk about accounting one-on-one. So he's doing a 12-part series. So remember, I told you it's important to have an accountant. It's a lot that goes into the financial side of your business, and accounting is a lot to digest. So he's breaking it up into chunks to help you not be an accountant expert, but for you to understand your numbers and to let your numbers drive the decisions that you're making. But it's really, you have to understand it in order to have that happen. So sign up for our newsletter, because you will stay, again, abreast of these different opportunities of learning, and just, we got a lot of stuff that's coming down the pipeline. Connect with me on social media. I have my IG. This is my Instagram, my LinkedIn, my Facebook. It's all Kristina M. Wynne. So, stay connected with me on Instagram. I put good information out there, encouraging information out there, because I know things get hard sometimes. And so just stay connected. It's good to stay connected, and then share what you learn with others. If you think it was helpful and you think other people can benefit from some of this information, share it. We need to support one another, and I like people sharing. I don't like when people try to keep stuff to themselves. So just share the information, because there's enough money to go around. This is a video, but we don't have to play that. So that is the end of this master class. Do we have any questions? I got some stuff in this chat. Let me see here.
I have someone was trying to get me to help them with their grant, and I didn't have the time for it, and kind of left her in limbo. But she's moving from Texas to California to do a veterinary, a grief when people lose their pets.
Oh, grief. Oh, interesting.
And she said some other stuff. I was like, that's unique. Nobody's doing that one. And so she's moving to North Carolina. And I was like, I don't have time to research what North Carolina got going on, but I would love to refer her to you. And this has been tremendously helpful. I have like a foundational understanding, but you really presented it so well. And I'm definitely going to be reaching back to you for some support.
Yeah, I'm so glad it was helpful. I would love to talk to her. We work with businesses all throughout the country. Business is the same, and I could research. We could research anything. So Definitely send her. I'm gonna when I send you all the email, I'll send you the link for the discovery call link. But I would love to just talk to her and learn more and see. Again, if I can't help her, I know enough resources out here. National resources. A lot of these organizations aren't local; they're national. So I can put her in contact or direct her to other resources that can help her out.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Kefra. You got your hand raised.
Yes. My question is, how much is the 8-week course?
So it's $1,250.
Mhm.
It's $250 to hold your seat, and then the rest is due at the end. Like, you can pay in increments. You don't have to pay it up front, but the last payment is due by the end of the course. So we start in May 6th or March 6th, and we end 2 months is going into, what is it, May something? Let me see. I got it written down. Oh, March 6th is the start date. May 20th. No, it's May 20th is the pitch competition. So it ends in May sometimes. I didn't write the end date.
Yeah,
8
that's
weeks
right.
from March 6th.
Okay. And so the deposit would have to just be paid before March 6th, or is there
Yeah.
like a cutoff? Okay.
March 1st for the deposit. So to hold your seat and make sure you got a position in the class, by March 1st, the $250 is due.
Okay. And I'm also going to piggyback on what I think her name is Jatan said about reaching out to you and doing a discovery call. Also, just because this was very helpful, but I'm actually actively looking for grants for several different businesses that I'm working on. So I just kind of need to maybe hone in on some things and just get more organized. But this was helping me kind of reaffirm some things, and also preventing me from wasting some time. Like you were saying, that DIY stuff, like I've been DIYing it already. So I'm really interested in really just taking things to the next level. So thank you so much for this.
Yeah, good. I'm glad it was helpful. And I love hearing about what people are doing. Like, it gets me excited. Like, man, that's good stuff, and it's stuff out here for you if you know how to maneuver the space. And so I'm more than happy to just learn more about what you have going on and kind of put you in direction too. Like, sometimes you just need the direction. And then ideally, what I like, this is ideal. I think this works the best. If you come to me like, this is the grant opportunity I want to do, because if we start throwing stuff at you, you get kind of like, ooh, okay, yeah. Like, yeah, I can do that. Yeah. But like, if like, if I kind of direct you, like, okay, look here and kind of look and see what they have and let me see what you come up with. And then it just helps the whole process. So by all means, absolutely, we can hop on the phone.
Cool.
Yes. Any other questions? And we got through this in less than 2 hours. I'd be flying, okay? Some of these other ones go the full 2 hours. You have any questions, Keisha? Are you good?
I'm good. I'm excited about all the information that I have to report back, and I will see you on Thursday.
Awesome. And I'm going to, again, send you all that resource list that I have so that you have the direct links to all of these individual organizations. Ashley.
Quick question. So you had shared about the grant, like reimbursement part.
Mm-hmm.
Is it something that, like, if you've already like put the money into your business and then did the grant, they will reimburse you for what you've done, or has to be approved and then what you pay from that day forward?
That's a great question. So the approval process is going to come when you submit that budget as a part of your grant. The reimbursement part comes, so you say, I got a 2-year project, and I say, in 6 months I'm spending $50,000. This is on gutting the building out, right? So you spent the $50,000. You have the receipt to now submit them. So when we talk about remember I talked about the compliance checks, like between quarterly and annually. That's kind of what that is, right? Okay, it's been a quarter. You were supposed to get this much done in this quarter. Let's see where you are. And then you will submit your invoices for the work based on what your budget was. And then they will reimburse you for that money.
Okay. Thanks. And I appreciate this time as well. I think maybe I'm the only one that did my call already. So I appreciate it. The reason I'm on here. It's the reason I'm already like team classes. I'm just trying to get my schedule aligned, preparing for March. So I'm super excited. But I didn't need to, I think this time also is so needed because like I know myself, I work full time as well. So I don't put as much time into like just sitting here focusing on my own business. So having this structure for me at least is very helpful. Like I know I dedicated just this hour and a half to my own plan, my own thoughts, and bringing that to the table. So it was so needed. So thank you.
Good. I'm glad. You are very, very welcome. Very, very welcome. Well, ladies, if there are no more questions, and I don't think there is any, then we can go ahead and close it out. I really appreciate you all's time. Connect with me seriously. Like if you have questions after this that come up, feel free to reach out. You know, I have no problem with just being a resource hub and whatever I know. Like I have no problem with sharing what I know. I don't have a problem with connecting you with people. If I got connections, like I'm that girl. Like I want you to get connected and do well. So like if it's things that you need, and if I know somebody who I can connect you to, I will definitely do that. So just stay connected with me. Thank y'all. Okay, and everybody who's what I got to get this YouTube. Like, share, and subscribe. We'll be doing this every week, and so like, share, and subscribe. Okay, y'all be blessed. See you later.